Jerry Agar for Ezra Levant. Good news for people in Calgary who missed the voice of Dave Rutherford on their radio. Not so long ago, the popular Alberta Conservative talk host was dumped from his radio show with no reason given to him, he said. He took to Twitter to say, "I have been taken off the air on Chorus Radio. Message, don't criticize management." Still can't say much because Chorus still has not told me why I was taken off air. 3 full days and counting. Huge thanks to a great audience that supported the Rutherford Show for 20 terrific years. It ended July 26th, but we're not finished yet. So, what's the status now? Dave Rutherford joins me from Calgary. Dave, welcome.
Thank you, Jerry.
Good to have you. Well, first of all, I
Thanks.
said good news for people in Calgary, not necessarily Edmonton, but you're back on the radio in some fashion in Calgary.
Well, that's right. Shortly after, well, actually the day after the unceremonious dismissal of our show, I got a call from the Rogers program director in Toronto. We're just kind of reaching out and seeing what was going on. And over the next several weeks, we've been talking, and Rogers has decided to hire me to do a daily editorial on 660 News, their local station in Calgary. So, and I think I tweeted, another one of the tweets you're talking about, I tweeted that Rogers believes in free speech, and they're going to allow me to say whatever I want to say on the radio every day during the week. So that starts on Monday. So yeah, I am back on. It's lesser form than the talk show, but yep, I'm back on.
Yeah, it's a different type of format that doesn't allow for the long form that you were doing. But do you think that you were subject to a restriction on free speech for the 20 years you were a talk show host? Not over the 20 years. You know, I had a... And that was one of the funny things about how this whole thing ended, Jerry. It was so surprising because for those 20 years, I did have free reign. We had a terrific contract that we negotiated with Chorus that allowed me ownership of the program. I had free reign over everything I did. I chose every interview. I chose every topic. Our producers worked in a terrific team. And so it was very successful. But then with a month to go, basically, in my contract, I said some things about the local radio station that Chorus ran, and they weren't happy. And so I'm assuming they weren't happy. What other reason would there be for a phone call and saying, you're off the air? There are, well, I can give you one. Because I'm, reading articles all across North America where there are some people who are in programming in radio who may believe that perhaps a different way of doing talk radio, a different tone is necessary now. Do you think that could be part of it? I think it very is a part of it. And I wonder if I had said to them, I want to stay around for 3 more years, what would it have looked like? I think the direction that talk radio is going is to this much softer, much more chatty. I mean, all the program directors would deny it, but that's what it is. A chattier, softer kind of approach to talk radio. Some of the big hard issues and frankly, some of the conservative-minded talk radio is disappearing, or at least pressure's on to make it disappear. So I think that's what's happening. I said at the time, I think the faceless they programming radio stations are trying to dumb down the format, and I don't know. Some of the evidence would indicate that's what's happening, Jerry. All right, well, let's let you get your teeth into an issue here, and it is the issue of police taking DNA from people just on an arrest. We have some quotes from the chief of police in Calgary where you are. Number one, you ensure that you've got the right person, that he is who he says he is, and number two, it would clear huge numbers of crimes where we have evidence, but we haven't yet linked that evidence to the perpetrator. There's 1,000 reasons that people would say no, and there's only one reason to go ahead with it, and that's because it's the right thing to do in this day and age. Calgary Police Chief Rick Hansen. Is he right? You know what? I think basically he is right. I think people who are screaming about this as some sort of violation of their human rights had better think about all the other things that happen when you're arrested, including, and we know it's fingerprinting. Is DNA collection is a swab of your cheek with a Q-tip. Is that any more intrusive or violating your rights than a fingerprint? Yes, I don't think so. Yes, I don't think so. Well, of course it is, because your DNA, Dave, is you. It's you. Oh, no, your fingerprint is just a picture of your finger, which, yes, it's still you. Well, not in the same way. I disagree. Listen, what is wrong with, and we can debate and we should debate, when this happens. And I think that's something that we should debate, when the DNA collection happens. Yes, police at the moment have too much power at the curbside. You talk about .05s and all the other things that cops are allowed to do now. I agree with you. They've been given powers to be judge and jury and judge and sentencer right at the curbside. I agree with that. But
Is it so bad to collect a swab of DNA to prove, A, who you are? Although, you know what, the chief, I think, is overemphasizing that. I don't think that's valid.
The fingerprint will do that.
It's going to take a while to figure out and to analyze the DNA. I get that. But the connection to a crime. How many times, Jerry, have you heard, written about, talked about the reluctance or the inability of the cops to get the guy? They know the guy did it. They know he did it. They don't have a connecting evidence.
All right, let me give you.
would do that.
All right, let me give you the other side of that. First of all, the rounding up of people and getting their DNA under this scenario may have nothing to do with criminals. I'll give you an example here in Toronto where I am, and that is the rounding up of large numbers of people during the G20 who later were just let go because they shouldn't have been rounded up, but they were arrested. They could have had their DNA taken. And anybody who thinks that databases don't get tapped into and by a government that says we're responsible for health care, so we could really use that DNA database, they're not paying attention to modern technology.
Okay. Well, no, I think this is modern technology, and I think you can use it in a positive way by the cops taking DNA samples. I think that is technology. But, Jerry, listen, I am not a believer in the big conspiracy theories that every department of government is snooping on every other department of government, because if that was the case, a lot of CRA files would end up in God knows where and vice versa. We've got to understand that there are some powers the state does have that we have given them and we want them to have, right? There are. We're not free men on the land out here. There are some state powers that the government has. And the sharing of information, you're right. We got to make sure that it's not shared by the wrong people with the other wrong people. And I know the NSA in the States is listening to every phone call made. I get that. But that's a violation of their power. So, yes, we have to monitor that. That's what the political system is for. I don't have any problem with the cops doing their job to get the bad guys. I really don't. And I don't think that this is overreaching. I really don't. Some of the things they have done, I've said to you, are overreaching. I don't think this is one of them.
All right. Well, I don't totally agree with you on this, as you can say. See, now you said, and we're wrapping up here, but you said we should argue about where it should be done. I think once you're convicted. But however, I think what you've done here for anybody who wasn't familiar with you is demonstrate why you should still be on the radio. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Jerry. We'll talk again, I hope.
All right. I hope so. Thank you very much.